Working on some projects I've put off for years.
It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item will be roll call.
Brown,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Fritz,
Present.
Turkey,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Nail.
Here.
Take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
Everyone's had a chance to look over the previous meeting's minutes. If there are no corrections, I'll stand it up.
I just have just a couple questions.
Okay.
One at the bottom, it says John Dale, it has an X, but I know it does say submitted by Katie, Katie Packard, but John was not here. I guess I'm assuming he would have signed that if he was here.
I'll sign it after it's approved.
But I mean, but you weren't at the meeting is my question. The minutes were submitted by John,
Right.
right, but he was not here. Katie took the minutes. Do we need to reflect that or? Because he can't really sign it with here.
Well, they won't be approved until now.
I can sign the secretary that they were approved.
Oh, okay.
On
Yeah.
behalf of-
Okay, that's just a question. I had. Okay.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Not the stand approved as presented. Public comment. So any send in run? No. We'll move on to the officer's report. Chief report.
Good evening, everybody. I've got, let's see. Our April call volume will be available next meeting, so it's not attached to this meeting, which we repeated last time. Operational changes, I did want to mention to the board, just information only, this is not in my written report here. Just some news, the Bureau Chief of EMS for the state of Missouri named a new Bureau Chief today, takes office on the 10th of May. His name is Taz Meyer, and he used to be I believe the administrator of St. Charles County District of St. Charles, St. Louis area. So I'm happy to welcome him to that job. He'll be filling in for Sam Vance, who recently left that position. So that's just a change of bureau level who handles all the regulatory investigations and inspections and all that good stuff for it. So no operational changes other than that, really. Major equipment, no reports, nothing to add there, nothing to report rather. Our AEV pickup is tomorrow. That's on the one unit that's up in Columbia right now, as we speak. The mileages are listed as below, and I have to update those just like our call numbers at the end of the month. We get a WEX report, so I can tell you the current mileages. 7 went away today. It was picked up, so I'll be taking it off the list. As far as I'll take it off the out of service list. No accidents. Thankfully, I'm gonna have to get one of those little signs that says it's been X amount of days since we've had an accident, and it has been quite a while, so that's a good thing. There's been good safety conscious despite this time of year, trauma season. It's always an easy time to fall down or get cut or get hurt on a job. So everybody's been doing really good on that. As far as the administrative stuff, we did get some power washers we've been looking at for quite some time. I'd probably say years. We'll be doing painting in the back alley with them, so we'll be getting rid of some nasty stuff on the walls out there, as well as doing some repainting. The helipad out at Station 2 needs to be washed, and we're going to try to do all that stuff in-house to certainly save quite a bit of money there. The power washers, we've needed those for a long time, not only for the units, but for the station floors and some areas around the grounds that would be nice to have. We didn't buy anything fancy, just some electric power washers for each station. So. Major minor projects, I'm sorry, I'm tongue tied tonight. Major minor projects. We've got the westernmost overhead door update. We were having some issues with it. It's been fixed. We've had spring problems on those doors ever since this whole thing started back when we put together the first place. They put non-commercial type springs on them, and they would just pop pretty regularly. We upgraded the motors in them because of the number of uses per day exceeded the manufacturer's specifications for them, but also the actual springs, the lower springs on the doors needed to be replaced when they got broken. But it's good now. Some sealing has been done on the back alley on the north wall out there where we had it bricked up recently. This time of year, we've kind of been waiting on weather, and like I said, the power washes we just got, so we're doing that project kind of a little bit at a time as we go to get it all tightened up back there. It'll be nice. No new issues with the neighborhood utilities or anything like that. Software, I've given you guys some updates kind of as we go. I'll probably stop putting this in there because we're pretty well have it up and running. We are in the process of changing over right now as far as actually doing timesheets on there, but Roy's got it pretty well set up to where the schedule's up and flowing. So I don't think there'll be any updates on that. Again, that is our software that it'll handle all of our equipment, incident reports, timesheets, and HR written correspondence on HR matters, supplies. Just it's kind of a one-stop shopping for all our software. Bothwell has been doing their vaccination events, I believe. Are they done out there? I'm gonna have to refer to you on this one. I believe the last NEC one was last week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and they've moved all of their operations over to the 10th Street center there, where they're doing on the second floor. Last I heard, they're actually taking walk-ins on the days that they're offering. So if you know anybody who needs a vaccine, they're still out there. It's still available, thankfully. So. Media relations, no new stories pending there. The intergovernmental stuff, we're still planning on a go live date in June. There's equipment still being implemented. We've had a couple bugs here and there in the software as things get transitioned over, but really everything's kind of on track to go live in June still for that. Right now, probably the biggest holdup I'd say is the main guts of the operation of routes calls to the right place. We've still got calls being routed over to Pettis County. Over Pettis County, and they'll that whole changeover takes a lot of wires being connected. So, yeah. ACLS and BLS classes for PCAD personnel were held last week. Myself, updated my ACLS. So, good on Justin for doing all that stuff. One other thing, just a little pop up. I'll be giving you guys an update on here pretty soon. There's a company I found out about that offers free CISD training. That is, if we ever have a major incident, airplane falls out of the sky, anything like that, mass casualty incident, the critical incident stress debriefing is a very important component of that when it comes to behavioral health and fitness of our employees. CISD training is something a few of us have had a little bit of, but we found a company that actually does free training. It's just all the way up by St. Louis, but it's specifically for law enforcement, fire, and EMS. So we're going to be looking into that and hopefully maybe even certify some of our staff into those matters. So if that does occur here, that fit, we actually have a staff that's ready to deal with that rather than have to call around and find somebody who's not really equipped to handle EMS type debriefing. So really looking forward to seeing what we can find out there. And the best news is it's 24/7, 365 free. So that's always a good selling point. Basically, the only thing I've got is for the board. I'm going to ask Ryan to maybe update you on where we're at on sales of items. Ryan, would you mind doing that? Sure. Yeah, it is. Okay, thank you. All right. Good. Moving along. Nothing to report as far as employment. We've had no current COVID-related illnesses or absences. FMLA, nothing to report there. We did have one EMT paramedic. We're going to put her on the second board meeting in May. Another EMT has gained their paramedic license. She's actually doing orientation right now. So I'll probably march over here for the board to meet her the second meeting in May.
Second meeting in May will be at TT.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of correlates with our schedule as well. So
Good.
Right. No resignations, terminations, or other changes there. And we've got four as a bureau chief, so that is it on my report.
Any questions for her? Yeah,
Eric, how many electric power washers were purchased?
One for each station, so we've got 1 at 2, 5, and at headquarters, so 3 total.
3?
Yeah, yes, sir.
any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the CFO report.
Report starts on page 8 with the budget performance, January through March. So we're all caught up finally on financials. Total operating revenue, we're at 31.31% of budget, so that's good. We're a little over budget on revenue. You can see that the Windsor annual payment was about $14,000 higher than we budgeted, which we didn't know how much of their property taxes they would collect. So this is the first year on the new contract, so that's where we ended up so far, was 263,842. As far as expenses, we are at 24.17% budget, so we are slightly under budget on expenses so far this year. Any questions on any of that?
The only question I have is rent expense.
Mhm.
What are we bringing?
Ice machines, it's just, we're down to 1 now, and then our Culligan water systems. Any other questions on the budget performance? Pages 9 through 12 is the details of that. You can see each detail of expenses. So the only one that it's still under budget, but I'm a little worried about is our fuel has increased dramatically, as everyone knows. So that one we'll have to keep an eye on. Employees expenses, we are right at 25.42%. So right on target there. Any questions on any of those details?
Okay. On page 11,
Mhm.
we budgeted $2,000 for employee meetings.
Mhm.
What kind of costs are there for employee meetings?
So that covers Christmas and Thanksgiving. We pay for a meal for the crews that are on staff those days.
Okay.
And then there's EMS week. We usually do something for the staff during that week. And then, anytime that we have, it's very rare, but if we have some sort of meeting over lunch with our attorneys or something, we'll provide lunch to them.
And right below that, advertising and promotions.
So anytime we put anything out for bid, we have to put that in the paper.
Okay, we call that advertising. Or promotion, okay. Because they don't have, when they call, they don't have much of an ambulance. So with the advertising. Yeah, we're here.
I do have one other question, the lease revenue,
Uh-huh.
7,400.
That's 16th Street. We've been leasing that out since January. So yeah, that is a new thing. Any other questions? Page 13 is the balance sheet for assets and liabilities. Any questions on any of those? Page 14 is our profit and loss previous year comparison. So you can see revenue is up 19% from last year, the same time. Majority of that is the increase in the Windsor payment. The other big part of that is sales tax revenues. And we have not paid out the state portion of our GDMT yet. So they keep pushing that due date back. So I'm not sure we'll not request that percentage.
What is that?
Our GDMT, it's basically our Medicaid cost report. We get reimbursed additional funds, but we have to pay a portion of that back to the state. Any questions on any of that?
And question on Windsor,
Yes, sir. $263,842.02. $263,842.02.
So, and what do we have budget, what do we think, or do we know?
That was 249,445.
Okay.
So it's about 14,000 higher. It's 200,000 higher than last year.
Still less than what we're paying.
We also get revenues. We get to build all that. So the building maintenance, you'll see that is quite a bit higher than last year. That's due to snow removal. Majority of it, $1,500 for snow removal. Communications, that's that dispatch software that was a year behind that we weren't aware of until we received the bill. Any other questions on the profit and loss comparison? Pages 15 through 18 is the profit and loss by class, January through March. Which is also the details of the profit and loss. Any questions on any of that?
On ambulance and vehicle fuel,
Mhm.
price of gas possibly going up. Do we figure that in the budget? Did we anticipate it being the same? I mean, it's $1 more than last year or something like that right now.
Yeah, I did not have a crystal ball, so no, it's, I was, I did have an increase factored in, but yeah,
But
Yeah,
it
we'll
gets
have
up
to keep a watch
to
on
$3 or $4.
that's, yeah.
Is there ways that we counter that? We run to scenes.
There are some options you can purchase for the ambulances. Basically, they're just they're a backup power unit, battery power unit. A lot of the hours that go into running an ambulance are idle time for when you're on scene or setting at a hospital or something like that. And you can't shut the ambulance off because it has to maintain its functions while it's charging air conditioning, the multitude of electronic devices in there. It's a big battery backup unit. You can buy them for each unit or for each ambulance, and they are transferable to the next unit. Not the only parts that go bad on are typically lithium-ion batteries, but they are pretty hefty cost. They're a little cost prohibitive in some cases. So I look at them every year and I go, boy, that'd be nice, but boy, they're expensive. If gas gets to be that outrageous, I think it'd be something we have to look at.
Yeah, however, just the rest of that to be for that some reason.
Probably double what they are now, at least, for us to stay here.
In the life of that unit to charge,
I anticipate from the vendors I talked to, the last one was at EMS Expo a couple of years ago. They said you'll probably get the original unit life, which for us has been maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and maybe 1 right now. So generally, 5 years on almost all equipment, you usually squeak 8 to 10 on most of the stuff like that. And they just basically work on, the ambulance shuts off, it runs the battery down, and then when it gets to a certain voltage level, it will start again. It's automatically running again. Of course, there's risks that come with that because what if the ambulance doesn't start again and then you're on scene with the patient? But in my experience, if the ambulance doesn't start again, it's probably not. So, yeah.
Did we ever look at contract in that field?
We get it through WEX, which is the state price. So that's about as cheap as we can get it from anybody. I know there have been services that contracted it in town, but I don't think they got the WEX discount because they wanted their price annual services. So that's about the best price that we've ever found.
So what's it compared to pump prices?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Considerable. Does it stay at that price? Does it fluctuate?
It fluctuates just as much as the other. It just, yeah, there's some other management stuff that we use WEX for. It's all our cards, the state Missouri fuel cards is what we get for that. They track all our mileage and so forth through them as well. I don't think there's an additional charge for that.
We know it's probably not going to come down.
Not for a while probably, but the ambulance is a little different than like a school district because it's school district, they know they're going on this route and coming back. Ambulance, they don't know that they're coming. And I did factor in, it was 20% increase over last year is what I had budgeted for, so. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to page 19. The bank balances as of the 22nd versus the 8th. So down a little, that's just our monthly ebb and flow that we have due to the fact that we get sales tax at the beginning of the month. And then the change between April 22nd, 21 and April 22nd, 2020, we had about $980,000 difference between the years. Page 20 is our cash reserve analysis. So that's down due to the fact that we're paying for one of our ambulances. We're down about 20 days in our cash reserve. Page 21 through 22 is a check register. Do we have any questions on any of those transactions?
Do you ever do like an annual for like this?
Okay. So pages 24 through 30 are last month's billing report from SMC. Page 25 is kind of a summary there of where we're at since we have switched over to them in July. You can see that our cash per trip is about $376, and our net charge per trip is $833. So that's after our required write-offs. Our gross chip charge per trip, sorry, is $1238.54. So currently, for this period, our net collections is at 45.2%. Up above in the middle there, you can see the net collection percentages for each payer. So Medicare, of course, is our largest payer, and we're at 95% for them. But if you go down the list, you can see that patient is only 5% net collections, and they're 15% of our payments. So that pulls down our cash per trip. Any
So-
questions?
So just a comment here. I know that the House and Senate for the state are looking at ways to not fund Medicaid expansion. But if I figured this right, Medicaid expansion for PCAD itself would be anywhere between 200 to 250,000, just based off if they switch to Medicaid and then per year. So if you guys know your reps, it might be a good time to say, hey, the voters voted to fund Medicaid expansion for places like PCAD that don't have a choice. You come pick these guys up instead of getting $5 per or $25 per trip. You know, you're going to be looking at if it's straight Medicaid 600, and if it's the HMO 349 per trip. So that's a huge difference. And based on the Missouri Hospital Association, Pettis County, 50% of those that are in the patient category, well, it's actually 48%. 48% would qualify for Medicaid. So almost half of these would switch over to the higher paid plans. So it might be a good thing to either us as a board or us individually or Chief Dirk to reach out to the state reps and say, hey, this is what it means to us.
Just as a general question, what about the 95% that don't pay? Just don't pay, that's the end of it?
I mean, if it goes to collections,
Oh, it does, it does, it's not just forgotten.
but I mean, there's not much you can do. You can't say, sorry, we're not gonna take you today.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Can you educate me on what a write-off is?
So we have contractual write-offs that we have to take a discount for Medicare and Medicaid.
So there's a percentage that we can only charge.
No, well, we can charge, but we're not going to receive it.
So that's pretty well set then. That there's a formula on Jen and
Yeah, it's based on,
what they owe, and then we have to write off so much of what the bill is.
Mhm.
Okay.
it's really for all our government payers.
I see it's Medicare and then insurance too. Insurance has. Oh, that's the total. Okay.
Should. The only time we should have a write-off there on insurance is either that was billed incorrectly or there was a refund, an overpayment of some sort. And then on that side too, there could be a hardship where we a write-off. So page 29 of
So that's a good question. So do you have a charity policy?
Mhm.
Based off of federal guidelines?
it's 200%. Page 29 kind of gives you the charts, accounts receivable. Oh, I'm sorry, accounts receivable by payer and by category. And then page 30 is
A
our.
question on that. So this, I like this report. It tells a lot. So like, you know, this company is not dead. Doing our billing for obviously not over the time. And most of the patient is sitting up here in current. Do they like contract with these people, or I would think that would start aging out?
So if they have a payment plan,
They
Then
have,
they'll
then they keep them in current.
Mhm.
So,
and then if they don't, then it goes to collections, then it goes into the write-offs as well down here on page 30. on the next page.
How much just collections give us?
Well, we just changed collection companies when we changed billing companies. So we've only got probably 6 months in collections, if that. You wait before you send it to collections. So, we haven't received a lot. Last month, I think it was $736. So,
Okay, I'm just aware of how it works. They don't pay us ahead of time. They
oh, no.
don't pay us if they actually succeed in collecting
Correct,
in some small percentage of what the bill was.
right.
and then one more question, the AR from the previous company,
That is not,
that's not it,
this is only, this is only.
and they're still collecting.
Any other questions on that? All right, page 31 is our current bills that are due. And then the details are pages 32 and 33. Any questions on any of those bills? No, that's the end of it.
Are there any other questions for James? If not, I'd take a motion to pay the outstanding bills.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Medical Director's Report.
One of the most difficult decisions that our folks have to make is when they have a patient that has suffered some sort of injury, does it rise to the level of a trauma center, or can it be handled here? And in talking with some of the folks this afternoon, there is a question about availability of specialty care. And so I think after talking with Steve a little bit here tonight, what I think I'm going to have to do, if there is, if there's a question, if they're not sure, what I'm going to have direct them to do is to call Bockwell and ask, you know, this is the patient that I have, this is the injuries that I see. Can I bring them to you? And that way, if we have the specialty coverage at that time, we can make we can let them go ahead and take them there. If we don't, we'll have to, make a different transport decision. But I think that will enable us to direct more traffic to Bockwell until they get their trauma designation, which hopefully is still in the works for July. Yeah. So, other than that, folks are doing their due diligence, in, assessing and caring for the patients. So that's all I have for you.
Are there any questions for the doctor? If not, we'll move on to unfinished business, the Windsor Mowing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe I asked for this item to be placed on the agenda. The Windsor Mowing is the only one that we have not pursued a third party to mow for us. That lot down there is a pretty good sized lot to mow with a push mower, which is the only thing available right now. Hot afternoon, that's probably a little much to be asking. I think we've struggled with doing the right thing as far as getting a bid out to get a good response. And what I suggested, and I'd like to ask the board to maybe think about, is having Eric or one of our battalion chiefs, next time they're down in Windsor, post something officially around town seeking bids for mowing of that lot. I heard conversation earlier about the advertising costs that we expend to do our due diligence to get a good bid, to get the best price for the taxpayer in contracting services. So this method, it pursues the same idea, the concept of finding a fair person that's insured and bonded in the area to mow that lot. And I ask that we give Eric the opportunity to go do that instead of trying to spend, $60 to $100, advertising in a publication that we may not even touch base with the best person to do the mowing.
Is there any other discussion?
Am I correct in my memory that we actually did put it out for bid along with the Sedalia mowing and snow removal?
For the snow removal.
It was just snow.
Just snow removal. I suspect from talk, in that area, we could find someone to do that for, maybe, $30 to $50 a time. The threshold that we're required in law is it be under $6,000. And that's where we're required to do that, the bidding process. But I just think this would be a good opportunity for us to explore a better practice than spending a bunch of money just going through the motions instead of actually trying to get the best bid.
Yeah.
I agree, we need to have somebody knowing that. You're not gonna get somebody bonded and insured for $30. I don't know, we could get some high school kid or somebody to do that.
There are a lot of local folks who ask me about it, just in passing.
The bonding and insurance on it would be the kicker.
Right. more than happy to go get some information on it.
I think we should, and I think we should handle that.
How we doing now?
We're doing it ourselves, our crews are pushing it out. Yeah.
So that's an exercise program down there.
Yeah. That's in hearing, you get out there and get grass all over you and you go to the larger. Oh, it's not, it's not, you know, we don't want to get exercise or anything like that, but it's not the drop we do, I think. It's a call.
Well, we don't have the number down there either. I mean, they could be all gone. I mean, they can.
Right.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. And it's pretty safe, 'cause it's certainly-
I guess what we could do is then explore with counsel, Frank Foster, to see what his thoughts are with regard to hiring someone that is not bonded or insured. I mean, there's obviously, you know, some liability that would exist, and we've always tried to cover liability on behalf of the taxpayers. So I just know that we need to hopefully come up with a better solution to finding someone to mow that place down there.
So do you want to explore that area?
Sure.
Bring some information back to us in the next meeting.
Yeah, I do that.
And there would be a rare people that want to do it.
Yeah. No, we got people on staff here that work in that area. But they can out there too, so I can get some information.
Table that till the next meeting and see what information there can bring. Gov deals equipment update. You're all there?
So the gas range has been picked up. The high bid on that was $732. We had 500 as a reserve on that. Unit 7 is $18,200. And the camper shell was $100. The only one that has not reached its reserve is the refrigerator. We have extended the auction, and the highest bid we've got is $1,200, and that ended yesterday. So we can elect to accept the $1,200. We can extend the auction again, or put it back out for auction, or whatever else you don't want to do. But $1,200 is the high bid currently on that refrigerator.
What did that ambulance bring?
18,200.
What we expected, 5,000 or 6,000?
We thought we'd be lucky to get 2.
I see, well,
So I make a motion to accept the 1,200 since we did well.
We have a motion, second to accept the $1,200 on the refrigerator. Is there any discussion on that?
I mean, obviously they didn't give very good bids. What was the reserve on it?
12 or 1,500.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Bay window replacement.
Nothing on that at this time due to my absence.
Table that till the next meeting. Gym equipment.
So when we've done the budget, we budgeted for some gym equipment, a treadmill, weight bench, weight rack. The crews requested that we get, somebody else want to cover this machine here? We have to have an expert in that.
I will try.
Okay.
So we requested replacement of a treadmill downstairs, and those guys came back to us, using the same amount of money that we budgeted for, but wanted to change it. They basically wanted to get a Smith machine, which makes it a little safer for lifting weights and stuff like that. You know, it'll soft spot basically, so you don't have to worry about dropping the barbell on your chest or anything like that by yourself. And then the pieces that go to it, of course, the dumbbell rack was already on the budget already. I guess that's it. So yeah, basically they wanted to swap out, instead of buy a treadmill, and some do this, it's listed in the budget, they wanted to swap it out, just don't consider the same. So. this-
The other big money is a rowing machine.
Are we keeping existing treadmill in?
Yes, we're gonna keep it, and if it gets to, I mean, it needs replaced. But, what we decided, especially those that use the gym a lot more than I do, obviously. They decided that they could swap it out with maybe the one of the outlying stations that doesn't see as high traffic as the one downstairs. And maybe spread it out, bids last this year, maybe look at replacing next year.
So this is a budget item that we had.
Yeah, our budget was 4,230, and the total of all these items is 3738.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
I had a few, are you the expert?
No, I'm not, but I'll carry your water. So.
Well, when I saw that on the agenda, I sat down, I started thinking of some questions, because let me just go through. How many are using the equipment?
There are probably 5 per shift, at least, they go over these.
And
At
do
this
they,
stage,
At this stage.
so we have weight, but we have equipment at all the stations, at both stations?
Limited, much more limited. There's quite a bit of stuff down
PT.
here at headquarters. that we just haven't-
Is there sign-in sheets, so you know how many people are actually using the equipment? When we build another station, say northwest somewhere, will we need to put equipment, exercise room in there too? Is that kind of a standard thing for a station?
yeah.
Are we requiring the employees to exercise so much? It's just elective, right?
Correct.
And are they on duty when they exercise?
Some of them come on, some come out off.
So if there's an emergency call and they're in the middle of the exercise, that's kind of inconvenient.
Yeah, they won't come down and do workouts or anything if they're up for call.
Oh, okay, so they know that how much time they have before they can
Yeah,
actually
it's-
call.
And that's another reason there's just limited equipment to other facilities, because they're not gonna do thorough
Okay.
workouts.
So when somebody goes on a call, the next group is on call basically, and they know that it's, so if they're doing something, they need to quit doing it and get ready in case they're called.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, there's several that do do it after their shift or before their shift.
And could they exercise on the days that they're off? I mean, do they go to gyms? Do you know if very many of them have gym membership somewhere else?
There are a handful that-
Because it's something that you want to keep at if you're gonna
Yeah.
stay at it. You gotta be consistent. And how much of the equipment is still usable? If we have 4 or 5 people, is all the equipment being used all the time, or is there some stuff that they graduated away from? I go to Brian's gym 3 times a week with my wife for about an hour and ride a bike, but I noticed that they are constantly switching their equipment. The new stuff, old stuff goes out, people are using some things, not others.
Well, the equipment that's downstairs here right now was bought, I believe, 2015, 2016. You know, average daily use of probably several hours. I mean, it's probably not, but they don't see the traffic with Brian or the
No,
gym seat, but, you know, they live their life, they had a good life, and it's still usable. The treadmill itself is the one, and the rowing machine, I believe, is broken. Those are the 2 items that need replaced. The treadmill, I think, with life use probably get by.
are there certain members, or certain employees that basically use it more? I mean, they're the ones that are really into it.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be like coffee drinkers, you know, you drink coffee, don't drink soda or whatever. And exercise people, I mean, they're there paint shop doesn't matter. See, on the rowing machine, I always put a rod in hoping to troll as I go, but I never catch anything.
And Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
If it hasn't been said already, I do believe we're recognized for having that equipment in our wellness program. If we're not, is that true, Jamie?
We don't have a wellness program, but it is required in our labor agreement that we have.
Gotcha.
That's the question I recall.
So the union is requiring us to, in that agreement, to have the equipment?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're kind of stuck there.
We always have had, but they want to read that contract that you have.
Some say how much.
Similar facility, or, just similar. Facilities.
Yeah, exercise is important. I mean, it's,
That, John, good point. Is that a, with the wellness program, is that an option we have when we renew our health insurance? That says we do have a wellness program where we get a discount?
I don't know about a discount. The way they've described it to us is that when people participate, they get some sort of incentive to participate in the wellness program.
that's one of my Medicare supplements. That's why I go to the gym.
I mean, we don't, there is a portion of our health insurance that you can join a wellness program. Because I looked at it the other day, I can't remember what it's called, but there is a no cost portion that you can go in and say what you ate and how many times you exercise for the week, and you'll get incentives. But if we don't get a discount.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any?
Thank you.
questions? It is under budget and it's required item, so. Move on to Henry County Radio System update.
So we've done all the work here in Central Dispatch is getting ready to take off here in June to get switched over to the state system. And we've been, I'm gonna say semi on the state system as far as radio communications. And I know we got two new guys that probably have never heard me say those words, so I'll go with it. So the state of Missouri has what's called the Missouri Not Realty Radio System. That's not what but it's a radio system, and it's a digital radio system works statewide. And that's what we utilize to talk with dispatch on. And essentially on some of our talkers, we have the capability of talking statewide with our radios, even our handhelds. The Henry County radios, they still work off of DMR, which is digital mobile radio, which is a digital platform that, say, schools, shopping malls, maybe even hospital uses it. It's not meant for public safety. Project 25 or P25 digital is the public safety platform that is what everybody should be using. That down there isn't that, and it's been mandated to bridge over to the state system. That Band-Aid's coming off. It's not working. It's not doing what we need to do. So I reached out to A&W Communications, which is the quotation you see in the packet on one of these pages, 40, thank you. Is it 43? 4239.99 to do the needed work at the dispatch center to move us over to the state system. This is our equipment, we own the equipment, and they'll install it for us for that process. The only thing that does not include is the radio itself. And luckily, we were able to find a nearby fire department that bought radios, and they ended up switching brands and vendors, and they have, I'm gonna call it new old stock because it's not really used. The box is open, it's been sold. They're willing to sell us that radio for $500, which most of the radio costs about $5,000. So that's pretty good. So what my ask is for a total of $4739.99 to update the radio system at Henry County 911. This would move all of our facilities onto the same radio platform and give us better radio coverage than we're having now, and fix a lot of the issues we're having now. You guys have any questions?
There's really not an option to that.
No, not really. Not one that's going to be doable. I mean, we can continue to try to make it work, but it's going to fail. It's already failed.
I would say communication is pretty important in this business.
Absolutely.
Physical piece of equipment we're using is literally, and Band-Aid's a very good analogy for it, it's literally stab together pieces of wire and such. It's just not an option.
I guess this was in the budget because we didn't.
No, I didn't, honestly, guys, I didn't anticipate it.
Yeah.
They put the budget together.
Yes.
I'm gonna make motion, we approve that.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of purchasing the communications equipment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. CAD Integration Project.
Well, you're on a roll, man. You want to take this one too?
Okay. Well, with Pettis County Joint Communication coming online, we've had the option to get this since we've had an training starting in 2016, but with the antiquated computer-aided dispatch system we were using. I'll explain what this does. So basically, 911 call comes in dispatch takes the information, it's put it into the CAD. So your incident number, all your times, call notes, your emergency medical dispatch narratives, and determinants all get loaded into this program. Well, what this will do, this is our patient care reporting software. This module will take that information from the computer dispatch and basically pull that information into the report. And what it will do is right now, as it stands, we get done with the call, we go back and we open the call up on the computer. And see all the times. This will pull over the accurate times from dispatch down to the second, the status of that unit change, the time they arrive on scene, the time they transported, time to call this dispatch, and the time they went to service. So it's going to take out the human factor. It's going to remove all the mistakes that we see, that we catch in CQI on that aspect of it, not the other. But it's going to streamline our process of patient care reporting, which is probably sometimes the most lengthy process of the ambulance call. And anything that would help with the new updated CAD system that they've already rolled out down the street. I think it's going to work flawlessly. We're still fine tuning. Obviously, it's a new program. It just got it updated. It's in the rollout phase. So we're working bugs out, but I don't think those bugs are going to keep us from making this work and work well. That is thing for us moving forward, to be able to integrate the CAD information into our patient care reports. Gives you a whole lot more information to look at.
Sure. Yes, what kind of money you're talking about there?
This is a $3,500, and then I believe there will be an additional. We already pay image trends every year for our software, and I believe that will increase the cost by $3,500.
This integrates with the Sedalia system.
Yes.
So,
And one of the holdbacks we've had on this is we've had multiple dispatch centers.
Right.
Now that we're narrowing that down to Pettis County Joint Communication, we're going to have accurate data all from the same place. And it's just like if you go on YouTube and say what happens when I call 911. There's a lot of information in here, from street naming conventions to where it normalizes all of that, to where it's accurate to map data, and not somebody, if I ask anybody how to spell McAnally Court around here, you come up with some very colorful answers. But the thing is, it brings that data over in, as well as the dispatch EMB side of this, which is a big component of our new Pettis County Joint Communications, is having everyone down there emergency as trained as a certified emergency medical dispatcher. It brings all of that information very important when it comes to later on in the game of billing, because a lot of times how we bill is based on that, oddly enough, dispatch information, however inaccurate sometimes. That keeps us out of hot water there too. So
Yeah,
it's
that
a
was-
little insurance policy.
That's-
Yes.
And, oh, sorry.
Is there any sort of cost, hardware cost that's just software?
It's just,
Where does it install? What is it, cloud or is it?
it's cloud-based.
Is that what the dispatch software is currently cloud-based?
Now, the dispatch software is not cloud-based, it's all down the street.
Okay,
But it runs off the server. But our end of it is all cloud-based.
And the 3,500, there's not an interface, one-time interface setup fee or anything like that. It's
This
all
point,
covered.
not we are aware of.
That's always a hidden one for us.
Right. The people that I have asked, there's not, but as far as I know. Nothing really said they had.
And Mr. Chairman, point of order on this is, I think this is a great deal. It also adds to a good patient record. This is good for the patient as well.
And to cap that off, it's a good compliance tool that you have. I mean, you can't
Can't change it.
change it. Yeah.
Yeah, no cheating system on this.
Yeah, the KPI I'll be able to give you guys very detailed KPI reports as far as response times to critical locations. Any data you want will be at our fingertips.
will they be setting it up for this price? No one in-house has to say this.
There may be some work that Pettis County Joint has to do on their end to make it all connect in the end, because I mean, they gotta figure out how to get the data from them to us. Okay, but that's on them.
This probably wasn't budgeted either.
Is there a reason this? I mean, it's nice to have, but can this wait till it's budgeted?
I think honestly, the best time to set it up. I can't really now no on that, but the best time to set it up is while we're building, why we are building. That's kind of. It's gonna make things a little more complicated. It's something we should have had all along, we just didn't have good enough data to really justify it.
And our annual call.
I just-
Total annual call volume, look, probably I'm anticipating plus 10,000.
Because this is for up to 9,000.
So we had last year, that's what it's based on.
So far this year's.
I mean, right now, to Eric's point, all the players are right down. You have all the experts from their CAD vendor down there working on it. With weekly, if not daily calls, with the people even above that. And so right now, everybody's there on deck, and if we get it done right now, then we just certainly kind of transition all that smooth and down the road.
Is there a competitor to this company that does similar?
I mean, there's other EPCR vendors out there, but I don't know how many man hours Chief and Busey have in their software.
Are you talking about the interface part of it?
Yeah, well, the service that they provide.
Not to my knowledge, it's pretty well, it's all proprietary, it's image trends.
I mean, okay, so this is tying into the software that it's like the same vendor is doing full fix the software.
We have image trend patient reports that we do, all of our patient care reports, nothing from image trim.
Oh, so this is like
This would interface their
standard,
their actual CAD
I
software,
got you.
as well as their EMS software, everything. would get packaged.
So there would be no way, okay, I got you.
And if we go over the 9,000 annual that says here in the quote,
It'll go up.
how much?
And am I correct in my thinking that we couldn't use the CAD integration prior to upgrade? This county?
Correct. And one afterthought, I apologize, I didn't think of this. Henry County is not used and or a year or anything like that, so cut shape, save that 12. That's what our cost to shape right off the top of that number.
Oh.
If we did go over 10,000, it's gonna be, or 9,000, it's gonna be years before that.
Is there a motion to approve this purchase? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the purchase of the image trim software, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Employee handbook.
These provisions, most of these revisions have to do with making our handbook match what our labor agreement said. Most of the things are just wording, like the title, instead of being witness testimony, or instead of testifying in court in depositions, it's witness testimony lead, because that's the terminology that's in our labor agreement. Some other things are things that changed in the labor agreement. So I don't know if you guys want to go one by one through all the changes, or if you, how you guys want to go about these.
I'm interested in substantive changes, just renaming or
So it's 47. This is on our holiday policy. It's really not a substantial change. It's just wording. We always paid double time for 12 hours on the holiday. Now it's worded as an additional 1/2 premium time in addition to the regular wage for all hours worked. So it's basically the same. It just matches the wording of the labor agreement.
for every reason that they wouldn't work one of these set shifts.
There has been times in the past that they didn't work 12 hours or 24 hours on a day. So
I'm assuming if Columbus gets knocked off this pedestal and we don't have Columbus Day anymore, that we wouldn't be paying them to take that day off.
well, right now that's one of our holidays, so we'd have to figure out what to do about that. But currently, that is our holidays.
I think those are national holidays. Considered national holidays, so I would think that each year, whatever the national holidays are.
These are what's written in our labor agreement as well, these specific holidays.
Okay.
So
So it's something we have to look at each year.
Since they don't tie it to the federal government, they'll do that.
these are the holidays we have. So. We moved some job duties out of the chief. They were not things that he was doing previously. They were.
Can I go back to the
Sure.
page? I just have a question. I think somebody touched on it earlier. We're going to a system that has or computer-based timesheets now.
Mhm.
We have timesheets now that somebody signs off on,
Mhm.
and it's gonna go to a punch in, punch out.
Correct.
But we'll still be signing off.
Yes, but they are clocking it. There is a time clock system.
And that will be,
It,
Where
yes,
is
it
that?
starts,
May 22nd. everybody.
Oh, so right here.
Is that through the phone or?
No, it's locked down, secured by IP address to the station.
so yes, that is a change there. Previously, they would tell us their time on their time sheet, but now it'll be clocked in. Sorry, some of the stuff cut off. So assistant chief, some job duties were added that he already did. So what is the schedule of employees? So that was added, background checks, employee time records. Roy does all those currently, so move those over. Removed accuracy of payroll and records from the chief job description. And it just changed the wording to assist CFO with preparation of the budget and work with assistant chief, because previously it said he was in charge of the budget.
Question on the CFO's job description.
Mhm.
And there was one other job description on page 69, I believe. On a lot of these other ones, there's a line that says basically assist the chief. I think it was missing on the CFOs. If I remember those.
So maybe, I don't know if we've ever shown you an organizational chart.
Yeah, that's something I have that question too.
So I'm
Yeah.
actually an employee of you gentlemen.
Okay.
The same level as Eric.
Right.
So I don't know which one you were looking
And then
for.
on 16.
Not that we don't help each
Yeah,
other. if we
no,
need
that's
to-
all right, that's
to
okay.
do that.
Yeah, an org chart would be helpful. That's one of my questions. Do we have an org chart?
We do.
Yeah, if we could get that. And then on 69. This was on the field training officer.
Mhm. And this is a new job description that
Yeah.
we've had,
Okay.
the paid position, it just did not have the actual job
On
description.
everybody else's, there was, after job responsibilities, there was basically a catch-all that said, found it on there. Other job duties and tasks comes back, follows the essentially, if you look at page 61. Performs any other duties. Just a catch-all. That was not on yours, and it was not on, which now I understand why, the org chart. But if it would follow on page 60. That should maybe possibly do that, 69, 70. Would come after essential duties and go before work examples. Or before qualification for that. It's basically, on page 61 is basically what I'm saying. Okay. On page 61, the very bottom bullet point should maybe be added to page 69.
Also, yeah, the duties related to the district aesthetic doesn't make that. I think the reason that was left out of this is because the field training officer is slightly unique, that they are direct reports to the district training officer. So
Okay.
when they're acting as field training officer, they are his direct reports. Not work. If that makes sense. Otherwise, well, it's my span of control
Yeah.
and that.
So
So,
then,
I mean, I don't see an issue with it being in there, but I think that's why.
yeah, it's just a good catch on it, but maybe you say as assigned by the individual you just mentioned. That's a good.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just the PCAD division chief determined as necessary.
And then just one other question. So, you're not on call 24/7 and 365. I mean,
I don't think that's written anywhere.
Like-
I think it actually is written in your job description.
It's
like after hours,
there's the phrase at all times, I think. in there.
yeah, do you have other people such as Roy or something that takes call at night?
And if I'm gonna be out of town.
If you need to wake somebody up.
Yeah,
Other than that, you're the sole response, I mean, you're
Yeah.
365.
I know, I employee of the district, so that's, it all belongs to me at that point. And that again is in our org chart, we've actually got it blended with one half of it is administrative, the other half is operation. So. it all makes a difference.
Are there any other questions on handbook revisions?
Is there any particular reason the field training officers format is different?
No, it's just a new job.
No, it's a new position.
It's not really a new position. It's been there. It's just a new, it didn't have a job description to go with.
I was having formatting issues in the building.
No, you're fine, I just,
Okay.
It's just the position has been formalized. Our folks have served as field training officers in the past, for new hires. And now it's just formalized in the handbook. This way.
Is there a motion to approve the handbook revisions? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Nah,
All opposed, same sign. Since we have no new business scheduled, I would take a motion to go into closed session pursuant RSMo 610.021, section 2.
So moved.
Is there a section? Second,
Second.
all in favor, and that'll be roll call.
Brown,
Yes.